lot of ground to cover. So, we never got to the questions. We're going to go on to lesson 7 on Bible memorization, but the last part of lesson 6, which was probably around page 68 in your book, there were some questions I want to ask real quick and see if you can answer these. You see the questions on the bottom of the page, probably around page 68. It was about the New Testament church. 68. No answer?
He's not answering.
Okay, he probably or call Jeremy. Yeah. Okay, so who can answer A? According to Hebrews 10:25, a church is referred to as the what of ourselves together. Who can answer that, Gleb? The assembling, a very key word, not just the gathering together of ourselves, but the assembling of ourselves together. B, a church is like the human what? Nita? Body. Okay, so it has, each part has a function. Each part is interconnected and interdependent upon all the other parts. Number C, who started and designed the concept of the church? Was it Peter? Was it Paul? Who started and designed?
Jesus?
Jesus did. This is his design, okay? We're following his blueprint. We're not doing the blueprint of Rome or the blueprint of New York or Dublin. D, what are the 3 ordinances or commandments that a church needs to keep? Who can remember one of them? Yes, Declan?
Baptism.
Baptism is an ordinance of the church. Yes, it is not something that the government does or has any involvement. What is another one?
The Lord's Supper.
I'm sorry?
Another?
To love one another. It is an absolute commandment of the church to love one another. Now, I wanted to love my enemies, but I must love one another in the church. And what was the third one?
The Lord's Supper.
The Lord's Supper. Okay, so you got 3 there that are ordained and commanded to the church to keep, to be a church and to keep its identity. Number E, list one of the 7 spiritual gifts that God gives to his people at salvation. It's not a talent that you have from your birth, it is a gift. What was one of them? Gleb, teaching is one. Good. Something else. Give me another one.
Hospitality.
Say again?
Hospitality.
Hospitality. Excellent. That is, go ahead. What else?
Prophecy.
Prophecy, which is preaching. There's having mercy. There's ruling or management. These are gifts that you didn't have before you got saved. And all of a sudden, God begins to direct your life and to show you this is what I've saved you to do. What spiritual gift do you think you might have from God? Let's see. I'll ask, there's Emmanuel. We thought you got lost.
100% plus by fault.
Oh, okay. All right. That's okay. So let's see. I want to ask Luke, what spiritual gift do you think God gave you?
I think the ruling that you mentioned would probably be.
Ruling, management, excellent, which I would concur with. What else? Who else might be able to say, just kind of, you don't want to sometimes brag, but you see that God has had his hand in calling. Gleb, what do you think God's put in your life and put you into?
I think it's teaching.
Teaching, excellent, okay. These are the gifts. See, some people want the gift of speaking in tongues. Some people want the gift of healing, and who wouldn't? But those gifts were transitory. They were here for a season, and they are done. The more important gifts are gifts of service that actually reach down and reach out and minister to the body and to the world. Okay, right down the bottom that you finished this week, which is the 10th of December. And we'll move on to the next page on Bible memorization. Can anybody remember what is our memory verse for this section? Hebrews 10:25. Somebody raise your hand. They can quote it. Gleb.
Hebrews 10:25. Not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together as the manner of some is, but exhorting one to another, and so much the more as you see the approaching.
Good. All right. So we're now going to, I've asked you to recall it, But what good is it to memorize Scripture? Psalm 119 and verse 11. I'll start with Bill. It's up at the top of the page. Go ahead and read it there.
Thy word have I hidden in my heart, that I might not sin against thee.
Okay, that word hid is an unusual word because we only have one normal meaning for the word hid or hide. What does it normally mean?
Out of sight.
Put it out of sight. Don't let anybody know it's there. But when the Bible says, thy word have I hid in my heart, it means I've stored it in my heart like you do your dishes and your metalware. We don't even say silverware anymore because we're not silver anymore. But you know where it is, and you know it's there, so when you open the cupboard, there are the plates. You open the drawer, there's the silverware. And you need to have stored away the Word of God so that you can reach down and pull it out and go, I need this today. So A, it is important for Christians to read and study the Word of God daily. We've already talked about Bible study techniques. But study of the Bible is incomplete if what the Christian reads never takes hold and never manifests itself in a changed life. Geraldine, James 1:22. It's in the New Testament. Start there.
Hello.
Hello.
I just got some here, James 1:22. But be ye doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves.
Okay. So, when we were in school and we were in class, there was a lot of hearing and listening, wasn't there, going on to teaching. And the same is true in church. We go and we sit and we listen. But the purpose of church is not to go in, hear some things, and then go out the same. The Bible says, take what you hear and then do it. This is an action book. It is not just a belief. James says, if your faith has no actions, it has no works, it is dead. So be doers of the word. So we'll continue on A. It says, the only way for the Word of God to direct your life is by learning to memorize, and what's the next word I use there?
Meditate.
Meditate on every Word of God. Is it possible to meditate on the Word of God that you have not memorized? Now you can ponder as you read, but meditation is something that after you've read and you go down through the day and you bring it back up and you, the word is ruminate, you review it and you think about it. And so it's no good to actually read something and not be able to remember it. So B, this lesson provides the reasons for scripture memorization and the methods that can work best for you. All right, so let's talk about the importance of right thoughts in the life of the believer. We'll start with Jane. Would you do A and 1?
Four big truths about our thinking. You are what you, in Proverbs 27. Proverbs 23:7. For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, saith to thee, but the heart is not with thee.
Now, the context, Solomon is discussing somebody who's having a meal with you, but the person is not who he seems to be. He's who he is in his thinking and in his heart. And he may be saying, let's eat, let's drink, but if his heart is not with you, okay, if his thoughts are not about you and about what you're saying, many times a husband will sit down with his wife and not pay attention to one word she says. Right? He's there, but he's not really there, okay? And the same is true with all of us. What we think about is who we really are and what we are and will potentially become. So you are what you think. Don't they say you are what you eat when it comes to your diet and stuff like this? Well, diet, physical diet is not nearly as important as mental diet, what you think about. Number 2, Doctor.
your thoughts come from you, and then Luke 6:45 is a good man out of the good treasure of his heart bringeth forth that which is good, and an evil man out of the evil treasure of his heart bringeth forth that which is evil. For of the abundance of the heart his mouth speaketh.
Okay, we usually think that our mouth is connected to our brain. Don't we wish that were true? Our brain is the governor of our words, but rarely the source. Welcome, but rarely the source of our words. Where do our words come from, according to Jesus?
From our heart.
From our heart. Okay, so your thoughts come from your heart. As a man thinks in his heart, what is going on deep inside, that's what's going to come out of your mouth. Number 3, Gleb.
Your heart is messed up bad. Jeremiah 17:9.
All right.
The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it?
All right, those are pretty strong words. What does it mean to be deceitful?
Does it deceive you? Like, does it makes you fall into sin?
Okay, but all right, describe what deceit means.
I don't know. I don't think so.
That's why I'm asking. We use words that we sometimes don't understand. What's the big picture? What does deceive mean?
Dishonest.
Lie to is dishonest. It tricks us. All right, now I can understand when I'm worried about other people tricking me, like a car salesman. But who am I supposed to really be worried about? My own heart tricking me. My heart is deceitful. And what else does he say? They're really strong words.
Desperately wicked.
Desperately wicked. Those are definitely Irish words. All right. Desperately wicked. I mean, in the big scheme of things, we have so much in our heart that comes out of our mouth. We have so much wrong. Jesus says, out of the heart comes adultery, fornication, murder. All these things are stuck in our heart and they come out. We must be careful of what's in our heart. And what we need to do is put right things into it. We need to be replacing and cramming out all the old stuff that we are stuck with our old nature. So, number 4, Declan.
But our heart can be fixed.
Hallelujah.
Ezekiel 36, 26 and 27. A new heart also will I give you, and a new spirit will I put within you. And I will take away the stony heart out of your flesh, and I will give you an heart of flesh. And I will put my spirit within you, and cause you to walk in my statutes, and ye shall keep my judgments and do them.
There's so much in those verses. Just understand your heart can be transformed. Take away the stony heart. What's a stony heart describing?
Cold heart.
Cold is one. What's another one?
Without conscience?
An unfeeling heart.
Okay, unfeeling. Excellent. Still looking for
Seared heart.
seared. Okay. What are you going to say?
Without conscience, like hardened.
Okay.
Hard.
Hard. I'm looking for the word hard, where it just nothing. We talk about stubborn, obstinate, stiff-necked. Where's that coming from? It comes from the heart. It comes from the heart. Okay. So 2 Corinthians 5:17. Go ahead and read that as well, Declan.
Therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away, behold, all things are become new.
Wow. You have a new mind, the mind of Christ. You have a new heart, soft heart, sensitive heart. compassionate heart. You just don't use it. Why doesn't a Christian all of a sudden act like Christ? Because we don't want to. We're used to the devil we know. We're used to the way that we live. And it's just a big deal for us to humble ourselves and live this new nature. Let's go on. B. Nita, go ahead and do that one.
Even after getting born again, our biggest battle will always be in our 2 Corinthians 10:5. 2 Corinthians 10:5. Casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalteth itself against the knowledge of God, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ.
Okay, so what word would you fill in to be?
So our biggest
Two
battle
possibilities.
will always be in our minds.
Okay, in our minds, or in our hearts, or in, as it says there, our imaginations and our thoughts.
I guess it is parentheses, so.
So you're looking for, yeah, but it's just, as long as you understand, this is where my battle is inside here, and it's fueled by here. Now I cannot change my own heart, but I can change the way I think. I can change whether I allow myself to say what I want to say. And that's where I get a renewing of my mind, because my mind is my governor of my heart. And when I say governor, it's the one that actually should be in control. So keep going. Why would the battle be in our imaginations, our thoughts? Go ahead there, Nita. Keep reading. 1, 2, 3.
Because Satan used to own that area of our lives, our thoughts.
Yes, he did.
Because Satan knows every back door into it.
Ponder that for a minute. What do I mean by that?
Maybe what triggers that we have.
And he knows how to trigger, doesn't he? Keep going.
Because our heart and mind is used to being run by wrong ideas and feelings, and so new thoughts and truths from the Bible are often a lot harder to follow.
Mm-hmm. All right. C.
What was the feeling?
Imaginations or thoughts. Neither one. Now, I want you don't have to describe it, but I want you, what are some wrong thoughts that you think all too often? I'll just go ahead and come up with a list. You may be sitting there, you don't have to show it to anybody, but I want you to just be sort of honest and say, would you agree there are some people who a wrong thought would be thoughts of suicide? That would be something that's going on inside of you. What other thoughts, maybe it doesn't have to be what you struggle with, but what are other thoughts that would be wrong that go on inside of your head or other people's heads?
Hatred.
Okay, a constant anger and hatred, all right, just hating somebody. Now, hating comes from a bitterness, okay? That's a deeper thought that you gotta worry about, is what's fueling bitterness. What other are wrong thoughts?
Envy. And
Ooh, that's very rarely dealt with, is it?
yeah, because like it could be envy just on the kind of like I never coming from just discontentment, or it could be just, but I'm as good as he is, or I'm better. Why don't I get?
Can you imagine the curse of the battle going in your mind of, I never had, I never did, I never accomplished, I never got to, and other people are. It's really, it's an awful, awful prison to be in. What else?
Pride.
Okay, pride would be, I would use the word arrogance, meaning that, can you imagine the thought life of somebody in Hollywood? Every time they step out of a vehicle, they're being watched by paparazzi and thousands of people who are calling their name, and everything about their thoughts is about themselves. And they think, is my head up high? Is my hair right? Am I walking right? Everything is about them. Okay? I think it's a wrong thought. I'll give you my point. Okay, what were you going to say? Last one.
The synonym to envy, jealousness.
Jealousy.
Yeah.
Although jealousy has a good angle on it. But I understand what you mean, okay?
Yeah.
Envy is the Bible word for the negative thought. So there are other thoughts, like there is...
Covetousness.
Say again? Covetousness, that goes along with envy. You wish you had what other people had. what I'm trying to think of are very practical. So go ahead, Nita.
I'm not good enough. Tell your
Yes.
thoughts.
Yes.
Shutting yourself down.
Yeah, the opposite of arrogance is I'm no good. Now, many times, these words are fueled from the past, where somebody told you that, somebody affected you, and so you believe it, and those thoughts go over and over and over in your mind. Those things have to be conquered, because that's not who you are, and that's not how you need to live. So number D, we'll take, Sharon, do you have a book there? All right, D and 1.
How does the devil take control of our thoughts, referred to as demonic attacks? We usually just let him have control without us even thinking about what we're thinking about. Luke 22:31. And the Lord said, Simon, Simon, behold, Satan hath desired to have you, that he may sift you as wheat.
So Jesus is speaking to who's Simon?
Peter?
What does he warn Peter about?
Well, he's just warning him that Satan wants to, destroy him. He's out to remove his influence because.
But to have him again, I mean, that's terrifying. You say, well, I'm saved. Well, yeah, you're following Jesus, but doesn't the devil know how to trip us, to divert us, distract us, discourage us? He doesn't have to actually have our soul, but he can have our attention, can he? He can have our thoughts. He can have, we can focus on what he wants us focused on. So, and it's not because he has greater power. It's because we let him have power. Okay, I think I have used this illustration before. Many years ago, I heard a crash in my office. I mean, it bolted me out of my bed. I grabbed the bat underneath the bed, and I started walking around upstairs. I'm trying to wake up, and then there's this back out the window. It was a cat. Now I was ready for it. Anyway. And I realized it was a summer day, summer evening, and I had left the window open. It was my fault. You understand what I'm saying? The cat did not have superior ability to open a door or a window. I left the window open and the cat came in. And so usually most people struggle with wrong thoughts because they let them take root and let them occupy their mind instead of overcoming them. All right, let's go look at number 2. I'll go to Tom. Tom, back there.
Oh.
Yes, I'm here.
What's wrong?
Oh, then I was handing my book to Luke.
Oh, now I'll get to Luke in a minute. Go ahead.
Okay.
Okay, number 2, he uses troubles to scare us. The devil uses problems to scare you and to get you to believe his lies, instead of resting in God's care and wisdom. We look at 1 Peter 4:12. 1 Peter 4:12. Right, so 1 Peter 4:12 reads, Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trials which is to try you, as though some strange thing had happened unto you.
All right, so when it says strange, it means unusual, it means out of the ordinary, and I shouldn't think that it is horrible when I'm going through a fiery trial. Okay? And my statement is this. Let me ask you a question. You ever been, as an adult now, not as a child, but as an adult, you ever been told something or something happened and it just scared you? And you just didn't know what to do next, didn't even know how to breathe. Okay, all right. That's what the devil uses. He loves throwing something right in our face for us to just go, I was not ready for this. Of course you're not ready for it. And it comes at you, and we think it's strange. We say, why me? Why is this happening to me? I don't know what to do with this. Okay, so Peter says, don't do that, all right? The devil loves to scare us. And because fear is a great weapon to get us to quit, okay? Let's do number.
I suppose we could use the phrase, he would, you know, he can throw you like a curveball.
Yes, I'm not. Who knows what a curveball is?
Oh,
Oh, 2, 3, 4. All right, okay.
so it kind of comes at you in a way that you
In
don't.
American baseball, which is a great game, they don't just throw the ball straight. The guys learn how to take and put a spin on the ball, and they throw it, and it goes like it's going in one direction, and it ends up going another one. And so they go after it, and they swing it, and they miss it, and it's called a curveball. And the devil has our attention, but I wouldn't use a curveball as an illustration here. I would just use a falling building as it just, your world falls apart, and you think God is not there. You think God quit and he went on holiday. And don't let that cause you to think that it's out of the ordinary. That's the Christian life. Even the trial, the trouble, the disaster.
So we could use the phrase, so maybe pull the rug from under you.
Sure you will. Excellent. Excellent. But it's the pain at the bottom that affects us, all right? And as we're falling and so on and so forth. All right, number 3, I'll get Emmanuel.
He uses recurring circumstances, common things that seem to constantly happen in our lives, usually take our attention off of God, so that Apple takes charge.
And I hate that. I wouldn't mind a once-off disaster. I don't like it, it just keeps coming up. Like cancer. You just wish you could go to the doctor and get it dealt with and you go home and be fine. But because it goes on and usually it gets worse and it's like it never goes away, and that reoccurring doctor visit or that reoccurring problem or that person that just hurts you in your life, he uses that so that you can't find it naturally easy to just rest and trust the Lord. Number 4, Jason. I'm sorry, yes,
So
ma'am.
just ask a question about that, because I've heard the phrase like the spirit of bitterness, the spirit of whatever the feeling is. So is that different to this? Meaning, is that something like a stronger, deeper issue that somebody has, or is that?
There are things, there are thoughts, and then there are spirits behind the thought. All right, I'll show you this. Go to Ephesians chapter 6. So there are often things, I don't know where a thought comes from, sometimes in my head. Usually it's from experience or something that I've experienced or watched or read about or whatever and shoved away in this mess of a brain of mine. And all of a sudden stuff goes through your head and you wonder where did that stuff come from. Sometimes it comes from a demonic spirit, sometimes it's the Holy Spirit. But watch this. Whenever you're in an argument, whenever there is a fight, whenever there's a wrestling, look what Ephesians 6, if you would read verse 12, I'll have you read that, Jane.
For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places.
So when I'm struggling with somebody, whether it's a government official, or whether it's my wife, or my kids, or my grandkids, or my neighbor, or anybody, or a Christian, I need to step back and realize not only are they having a bad day, but there may be a spirit behind them that's provoking them, pushing them. And I have to not wrestle against them. I have to pray for them, and I have to pray against the spirit behind them, because they may have a spirit of bitterness. That is not just a bitter feeling, but it's been fueled and it has taken root and it has become a part of their spiritual life. And they need to be freed from that. And I may not be able to help them, but that is a reality. So there is a spirit of adultery, there is a spirit of bitterness, there is some of those spirits. A lot of people put spirit behind everything as if everything's spiritual. Some of that's just stuff that we think and we do. But there are things that take root spiritually in us that we have to be delivered from.
So how is that different from sin? Like if in as a person, as an individual?
It is a temptation to give in to okay. If I'm angry, all right, be angry and sin not. I have the responsibility. I get angry. What am I going to do with my anger? That's on to me. Now, whatever made me angry doesn't matter. What I do with my anger matters. Does that make sense? So, doesn't matter whether, yes, go ahead,
I was
sorry.
just saying, so you're saying that spiritual wickedness that you're fighting against, it could be there regardless, but your sin sin is just your action that you do.
What I
so
do with it.
you can look deeper than just, oh, I messed up, and you can say that the spirit, that Satan is known as the spirit of the darkness of this world or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So he's behind all the ways of the world that go against God. So when you're fighting against someone and sinning or not, you're not fighting against that person, you're fighting against the demonic forces, I suppose, or Satan's design for the world.
Yeah, but now, isn't your thoughts also, can your thoughts not also be a sin?
Well, your thoughts can be, as long as as long as you are wanting them. For example, the Bible says if a man looks after a woman to lust after her, okay, he's committed adultery. But the fact that a woman's crossed the street and she's dressed immodestly and he looks at her, he hasn't sinned. It's when he does a second and a third look and he begins to think, man, she's a whole lot better looking than my wife. He sinned. Okay? That's where sin takes place. Yeah. And you can say, well, the devil made me think that. No. The devil may have had that come in front of you, but how you react to it is when sin happens. I'll tell you the example, okay? So imagine here's T-Row here, and then Gina Lynn, so sweetly, I'm not going to have them act it out, but here's Gina Lynn, she's so sweet, right? Here's T-Row, and I'm the devil, okay? And he's trying to be sweet to his wife, and I come along and I just push him right into her, all right? Now, she can just slap him and just get all upset at him, not knowing there was a push, there was a spirit behind what happened. He had no idea what he was getting into. And that's the point of this thing is we don't know what caused that anger, what caused that act toward us. How we react to it becomes sin. Okay, so I don't know what's coming at me, where it's coming from, spiritual, sometimes it's just a bad day, I don't know. How I react to it. And that's the hardest thing because my nature is to react in kind. And I've got to learn to react in Christ. That's the big deal, okay? So, any other questions? I think this is very practical when you think about it. This is where my problem is learn how to react differently based upon a new nature, based upon a whole new awareness. Is becoming aware of a lot of layers of life besides just, oh boy, she's having a bad day, I'm going hiking. Okay? All right, so, Jason, I think you were next. Number 4.
He uses verbal suggestions from people, including TV, radio, music. All of them usually speak half-truths and lies that we often believe without question.
So this is called worldview. People begin to see other people and see events based on what they watch on TV, don't they? All right, if you watch TV, if you get your news from the news, you're going to come away with a really bad attitude about a lot of different people groups and about a lot of different things going on in the world. I get my worldview from the Bible. And so when I'm watching the news, which is kind of rare, but when I'm watching it, I judge the news and I go, no, I don't believe that. No, I don't agree with that. No, I'm switching it off. But most people, they get the thoughts and the reactions from I'm going to use the word propaganda of their influence. So if that is not spiritual, not godly, and you'll be struggling with it for years. All right? Now you can't be a monk. You can't be a nun and live off in a hole somewhere where you're not influenced by any of that stuff. But you need to have a worldview so that whatever comes at you, you can go, no, that's not true. Okay? For example, the propaganda is that infant in a womb is not human. How did you get 2/3, or at least 2/3 of the population of Ireland to want to vote for abortion? Propaganda. They repeated it over and over and over. It is not human. It is not human. It's not even alive. So on and so forth. And it changed the worldview of this country. So be careful what you allow to affect you.
It's the same thing like is having a home, like, you know, over and over again. If you react the same way to the world,
Yes.
now you become a Christian. But like the stronghold is the patterns of thoughts behind your mind that
Yes.
go with that. And I struggle with anger hugely, like, and like that pattern that goes with it. You just fall into that pattern, and it's an issue of control then, because who am I going to give lordship to? You know, when this thing kicks off, like, you know. And like I failed again this morning, like you know, in my angle, like. So, like,
Influencing. Satan especially puts light to your heart at times, so also does the devil if we are not careful about what we end up thinking about. Luke 9:54. And when his disciples...
Hold on, give everybody a chance to catch up. You're just too fast.
Luke 9:54 and 55. And when his disciples, James and John, saw this, they said, Lord, wilt thou that we command fire to come down from heaven and consume them, even as Elias did?
Hold there for a second. Who just said that?
James and John.
Okay, are James and John pretty good disciples normally?
Yeah.
And what did they just want to do? Now this is in Samaria, to the Samaritan village.
Yeah. Destroy it.
They wanted it roasted, man, to a crisp. Can we, huh? Okay, next verse.
But he, Jesus, turned and rebuked them and said, Ye know not what manner of spirit ye are of. For the Son of Man is not come to destroy men's lives, but to save them.
Hallelujah.
And they went to another village.
Okay. So they didn't even know where they got that thought. They had no idea where they came up with, can we just get rid of him? And you'd be surprised, like, how do you end up? Here's a couple. They're married for 15 years, and you think they are absolutely married, wonderful, but in year 16 something starts to happen, and from 16 to 20 years they started to slowly get separated, and then they're divorced. Now, how does that happen? They're both saved. They're both trying to live for God, but for a couple of years, something happened, and it never got fixed, and then they ended up divorced. You know where it came from? The devil. It's not, now it's flesh, I understand all that, but the devil doesn't like anything that God creates and God institutes, which is marriage, which is life and everything. So sometimes we think, well, she never apologized, he never cared about me. No, it was the devil that came in and made you think that you and your rights were more important than God's design, and there's got to be a way to get through this and wrestle this and the spirit behind it instead of wrestling against your husband or your wife. So it's that big a deal. What goes on in your heart affects every area of your life. Number E. Let's get this done. And I'm going to ask Michael, can you read E? Have you got your book with you?
I have it.
Good man. Number E. Well, we memorize everything.
Okay. Everyone battles with many of the following wrong thoughts: suicide, lust, hatred, envy, worry, fretting, depression, hatred of themselves, covetousness, constant fears, and even apathy. Do you think about any of those things a lot?
Now, you don't have to answer to me, but put down honestly, does any of that stuff ever cross through your mind? Because those are wrong thoughts. And I don't know if we'll be able to finish this. I think we ought to go ahead and quit, and we'll pick up, because otherwise it's just too much. I want to say too much over the next one. So we will stop here. And pick up on this stuff next week. All right.
Just a question.
Go ahead.
So this is, it's not really off the topic, but like, so politically what's going on in Israel at the moment. Now, from both sides, but specifically now from Israel's side because of the Jews, like, I can't think that comes from God, like the war and, everything that's going on. For me, it's just, I can't think that God could be behind that. That, for me, that's man and, like, I would say an evil spirit, like from both sides.
It's impossible to unravel all the ins and outs of what's going on in the Middle East. Just know this, it has always been this way. And it always has been. God never stepped back and just lets the devil run, thankfully, okay? But God is involved, and what is what is happening has got like 4 or 5 layers. One of them is the consequences of decisions and choices that we make. We reap what we sow on both sides. Right now, in many ways, because Gaza never sought any kind of government that would ever protect them, and they sought Hamas to be their government, their choice for Hamas has now cost them dearly. Now, Israel, their decision, they make decisions all the time, especially against God. And their decision brings where their enemies constantly surround them, no matter what they do. When they're right with God, even their enemies are right with them, if they would only just realize that. So there are lots of layers. So you say, well, where's God in there? He's in everything, okay? But he's not doing it like we would. All right? We would sort of just go in there and just like 2 fighting brothers, we just separate them and say, you're sorry. That's not what God does. God has got a bigger picture going, and he's involved.
I see what you mean. For me, it's just, I'm starting to think that there's a difference between the Jews and Israel, the political state. There's a total difference.
Well, yes, when you say the Jews, there are a couple of meanings, okay? But the Jewish people and the Israeli state, you gotta understand, there's 4,000 years of history there. Okay, and so when we say, is the Jewish state evil? It's just like we say the Irish government is evil. They can be.
They seem evil.
But, yeah, because they're government, yes. But just watch the propaganda. Again, something there. The Jewish people have a special place in the plan of God that you and I, we've been grafted into Abraham. Okay, we've not been grafted into the people of Israel. Okay, there's no longer Jew and no longer Gentile now. We're Christian, but we're in this blessed place that of Abraham, and in a relationship with God through the faith of Abraham, so on and so forth. But right now I hear just the current propaganda of these aren't Jews over there. They don't have anything to do with the people of God. Most people never read the history in the Bible. Most of the time Israel's not been right with God, and yet they were still the people of God. So we got to be careful about, trying to dissect and judge. I know this, if somebody attacked Ireland and fired in one short day 5,000 rockets and killed 1,400 people, the Irish government would be motivated to react. Now, different people react different ways. Israel just got fed up with it. I literally pray for the peace of Israel and for Jerusalem. I pray that the thing comes to a close, and that Hamas is not wanted anymore. I just know that somebody else is going to rear their ugly head and take charge of that situation to make it bad. Whether it is a Benjamin Netanyahu or whether it is a Hamas leader, it's always going to be that way until the Prince of Peace comes. Okay? So, it's just really sad for Gentiles. Paul says in Romans chapter 11, he says, we Gentiles had no business judging the Jews. Now, when they do wrong, you can point out they did wrong. Agreed. But who they are and what they're trying to protect, if people would leave them alone, they'd leave the whole world alone. But all the people around them want the Jews exterminated. That's it. And if they would stop, we'd see a different area. It's just not going to stop. So there's some big issues, and I don't know how to summarize it, but that's the best I can do, okay?